All right, so periodically you see a lot of hype around crypto, and I've said this a lot before, but there's a lot of people that think that Bitcoin and crypto are one and of the same. So this message, I think, needs to be repeated periodically just to help the newbies and to just make people aware, I think. First things first, if you get value out of this video, please like and subscribe. Really appreciate that. So let's get right into it. This is from Matteo Pellegrini. Bitcoin can't be replicated. You would just need no pre-mine, a founder who leaves the project early and never sells, and I would say is anonymous. No foundation, tens of thousands of nodes, 52 conferences per year, global adoption across borders, 701 million terahashes securing the network, thousands of developers building on open protocols, 983 podcasts. I don't know where he gets that number from, but a community of millions valuing freedom and sovereignty. So this is the big debate that you see, and the long and short of it is, I mean, the market has made it very, 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 very obvious that Bitcoin is the only crypto that clearly is going to be around for the long run. I know there's the XRP and the ETH and the Solana and you name it, people, but until one of those outperforms Bitcoin over a decade or longer period, then we can have that conversation. But when you go back 10 years, I don't know if there's any. I mean, I don't even know if ETH was around. I think it was it 2014, 15 roughly that it even came out. So that's the first thing. And the second thing too is that most of these, in fact, the vast majority of these are not offering up virtually anything different. I mean, to some degree, yeah, they have smart contracts and that kind of stuff and NFTs, but like, is that where the real value comes from? And the most important thing I've said time and time again when it comes to Bitcoin, there's two things, right? There really is two things that are the most important things that very clearly differentiate Bitcoin. Number one is zero counterparty risk. In fact, this might even be the biggest selling point towards Bitcoin. A lot of people say it's the hedge against inflation and that kind of stuff, but this arguably is the most important thing. And this is something that even within the Bitcoin space is not talked about nearly enough. Not having any counterparty risk is extremely important. And it's something that a lot of people, especially in the West, specifically the first world countries, they don't get, because we've had it so good for so long that people just don't even think about this. Canada, a little bit different. Look what happened a few years ago, or 2 years ago, whatever it is now. But not having any counterparty risk is so important. Bitcoin, this is something that should give it 10, 20 trillion dollars in value just right there. It's the only asset that doesn't have counterparty risk. Now, again, people can say, what about this crypto? What about that crypto? But it's like, none of those have even came close to competing with Bitcoin. Like Monero is probably the most common one you'll hear, but which is the only one that I know of, at least, that truly has no counterparty risk as well. The problem with that is that it's grossly underperformed over the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So that's the problem there. And something that people that I really don't get about a lot of people is that they think that you're better off to try and go for something that has like a 10% chance of succeeding that's perfect, versus something that has like a 90% chance of succeeding that's like 90% perfect. Like this mindset is just absolutely insane to me. Like, we can change things for, like, very, very clearly change things for the better, but you're all hung up on trying to get your coin with $100 million or $1 billion market cap to get everybody to accept it. And this is another point that I brought up time and time again. It's like, if you can't convince people to adopt Bitcoin, you don't have the foggiest chance in hell, snowball's chance in hell, to convince people to adopt any other coin, especially these ones that the vast majority of people, even within the crypto space, have never even heard of. It's just not going to happen, right? Like Caspa and some of these come to mind. Like, this is the problem. And here's the other problem when it comes to a lot of these other ones, like your XRP, Solana, ETH, the list goes on and on. They all had massive pre-mines. In fact, I believe Solana had over a 50% pre-mine. So how do you consider that something that the average person, like, how is that not a pump and dump? Right? Like, if a company went public and the people, like the owners and the board, and you, like, if they dumped 50% of their stock, like if they gave themselves 50% of the stock and dumped it, like who in the right mind would be like, yeah, that's a great company? Like, nobody would say that. So why are we even considering the idea that, oh, XRP is better than Bitcoin, ETH is better than Bitcoin, Solana, like you name it? Like, what? How is that even a question? And people say, well, what's the psychology behind some of these people? A lot of people own like multiple ones. Like they think that they think that they can trade and that kind of stuff. And yes, some people can, but the vast majority of people can't. And people think it's kind of like stocks too, where you should diversify. It's like, no, you really shouldn't. This is not stocks. This is way different. Which is the same mistake that a lot of the traditional finance people make, is that they, like Bitcoin doesn't have earnings, and you're so ignorant. Like the people that say that, like, I don't know how to value it. Look, okay, well, you haven't tried to value it. Of course you don't know. You haven't tried. So that's a big thing. And here's the other thing too, that a lot of these people just seem to just gloss over, and the XRP, like the SEC suing XRP, they're all celebrating because it's looking like they're going to win these lawsuits. And the first thing I would say about that is that just the fact that they're suing you in the first place, if that's not a red flag, I don't know what is. Like, I genuinely don't know what is. Like, if they can even sue you in the first place, like, how do the people just gloss over that? If there's a corporation or a founder behind any crypto, that's like, I'm usually skeptical about making definitive statements. But if there's a corporation, if there's a foundation, if there's a Vitalik or someone like that, if there's someone like that involved in whatever crypto you're talking about, 100% of the time, I wouldn't even consider it. If you gave me ETH, Solana, like any of these, like I would sell it in a heartbeat, because it defeats the entire purpose. The entire purpose behind crypto was it's decentralized, there's no counterparty risk, and I think one of the most important, probably the first or second most important thing, debatably, is the hedge against inflation. And here's the thing, like, of these major, of the other coins in the top 10 cryptos, like, I don't know if any of them actually have a fixed supply. Like, ETH doesn't, Solana doesn't, Cardano doesn't, Solana doesn't. So this is my thing. Like, what exactly am I missing here? Like, what am I missing? Like, what do they have that is so impressive? Okay, smart contracts, NFTs, but if you can so easily replicate it, then what's the point? Like, this is the area that I think that stocks and crypto, you can argue, are similar. That Warren Buffett always talks about how important it is to have a moat in companies you're investing in. And this is the thing about Bitcoin. It has 1,000 times bigger moat than any other crypto because it can't be replicated. You can replicate these cryptos that can have 1 million transactions per second, or they have smart contracts. Like, you can replicate, like, those are a dime a dozen. Like, those are literally a dime a dozen. There's nothing special about them. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about here, because I think that we're in the early to mid stages of another bull market, and there's going to be a lot of newbies that are going to get into this, and they're going to get hoodwinked by the altcoins. And again, some of them will do really good. But my point is that, number one, there's going to be no altcoins that are going to outperform Bitcoin over, decade, 2-decade period. It may be the odd one, but how predictable is it going to be? Like, very unlikely. That's the main point. And I don't understand why people like you insist on trying to reinvent the wheel. And the other argument too is that some of these coins have replicated Bitcoin, and you could debate that they're better in this way or that way, but it's also the thought process of you could almost certainly come out with a website just like Facebook that's better than Facebook in some way, but are you going to get 1 billion users? Like, no, it's just not going to happen. You could come up with a website that's probably a little better than Twitter. There's been probably over dozens of these over the space of time that have tried to compete. None of them have came even close. So this is one of the other big selling points of Bitcoin. It has such a major first mover advantage that it's extremely unlikely that anything else is going to catch up. And it comes back to the other point I made, is that if everybody just stopped trying to get cute and reinvent the wheel, like the near perfect wheel is right in front of you. Why are you trying to gamble on something that has a very low likelihood of succeeding? I really don't understand that mentality, and frankly, I don't care. Like, I really don't care. People that invest in alts, they're gonna lose. I mean, maybe not lose money, but they're going to underperform Bitcoin, and they're going to lose money because of that. It's quite simple in the end. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. Like I mentioned at the start there, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more.